Hello, I am Elise Goldstein. I am a mod.
And I'm Elizabeth Duquette, and I'm also a mod.
And we are here today just to give you a quick rundown of Slack, hopefully help you be more effective as a moderator in your use of Slack. So just some quick tips and tools and kind of the basic ideas behind how Slack works. As you probably know, Slack is an app. You want to think of it like an infrastructure. Okay, so Slack is the road that you can walk down. There are lots of Slack workspaces or buildings along that road. Each workspace belongs to a different organization or community. So for example, for 2020 Victory, we are in the 2020 Victory workspace. Then within the 2020 Victory workspace or building, there are channels. A channel is like a conference room. So within a conference room, you're going to have a different conversation with a different set of people about a different topic. And it's good for you to get to know the different channels and the different purposes for the channels so that you can effectively help people in the spaces that they need to be helped. So for today, we're going to give a quick demo. We are not going to use the main 2020 Victory workspace just to avoid confusing anybody as we demo this work. So I'm going to start sharing my screen and show you our Slack. So we have set up here, we have a text team channel, we have a get text channel, a mods backend channel, and a mods front end channel. Those are probably the four spaces you're going to spend the most time if you are a mod, probably more in either the front end or the back end, depending on where you work most. So let's start in text team and let's talk about some basic Slack communication etiquette. As you may have experienced, threading is the mechanism that we use to organize conversations. So let's pretend that Elizabeth is a volunteer and she is confused. So she is going to ask a question here in text team, and she's typing it now. We can see that at the bottom. Where do I go to get text? Okay, so as a mod, I need to answer her. What I don't do is I say, go to text get text channel. Oh, and I'm even going to include emoji, a left arrow, like that. So I answered her correctly, but I did not do it in a way that would alert her that I've answered her question. What I actually needed to do instead, let me just copy this answer so I don't have to retype it. I'm going to delete that message. I want to alert her that I'm answering her question. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to star her message, and I'm going to reply in thread to her. There it is, go to text team. So now Elizabeth is going to get an alert in her threads that I have replied to her. Now, what if she replies to me in that same thread? How will I know that that happened? Well, I can see she just gave me a thumbs up. It flashed right there, but she also replied. So now it says 2 replies here. Yeah, but I might have answered 17 people's questions in the meantime before she posted again. I'm not going to scroll back up and look for that 2 replies. I'm going to look up here in my threads section where it's turned bold, and I can click on it. Oh, she wrote thanks. Great. And this is great sometimes when you're captaining. Just go over and visit your threads, or basically any modding you're doing in the channels. See if anybody's answered something that you've replied. It's a great way to make sure you can follow up with anybody who's still confused, who needs additional support. Again, those emojis show up. So Elizabeth thumbs up my message. Oh, and then she also happy started. It flashes there for a second. Sometimes you need to know if an emoji was given or if somebody followed up. You can also click on your mentions and reactions and see a list of any posts that you've put and how people have emojied it. So that's a great way to kind of see how people are reacting to a message that you post. That can be really helpful if you're posting an announcement to a channel and you want to see if people are seeing it, or any number of other circumstances. So another thing that can be helpful when you are modding is making sure to share screenshots of or links to conversations in Slack that other mods or staff might need to see. So there are two things you can do. You can take a screenshot, and if you don't know how to do that, it does vary from device to device. I'm using a Mac, so my controls are Command-Shift-4, slightly different on other computers. But if I type Command-Shift-4, you can see I now have this kind of trigger image. I can draw a box around it. It clicked, it took that picture, and then I could even go into mods front end and say, someone is asking this question, and then attach my screenshot. Now that's one way to share a screenshot or to share a conversation. Other times you don't really need to do that. The other way you can do it is you can go back to that conversation you need to share. You can click on those three dots. You can click copy link. That copies a link to this exact conversation. Elizabeth says on it, thanks, but wait a minute, there's 7,000 messages in texting. How is she gonna find this message with my screenshot? Wouldn't it just be much easier if I just sent her the link to the message? You can find it here. Paste that link. And now Elizabeth can click on this link directly to reach that conversation and jump into it if she needs to. Now, sometimes you want to follow or unfollow a thread. Oh, look, Elizabeth replied again. Even better, okay? So now Elizabeth has taken over this conversation. Elizabeth is going to help Elise Goldstein, who is confused. I don't need to pay attention to that anymore. I can unfollow that thread. So even if Elizabeth continues responding to Elise, I don't need to know it. If I right click and I hit unfollow thread, it's no longer gonna show up in my threads. It's not something I have to pay attention to. Conversely, maybe there's a thread that's happening that I do wanna follow even though I'm not participating in it. I can double click on that one. Oh, I'm already in that one. Let's find this one with Elizabeth. I need one that Elizabeth, can you start a new message and thread yourself a reply?
Sure.
So this is a thread I have nothing to do with, but for some reason I want to follow it. Maybe somebody asked a question and another captain is going to answer it, and I'd like to know the answer to that so that if I'm a captain later, I can help with that question. More actions, follow thread. Now I'll be able to see what's replied in the future. So if Elizabeth sends a reply one more time to that thread, oh, now it showed up in my threads. Okay, so now I can see that. She is thinking about coffee. There are many ways to drink coffee, Elizabeth. Okay, so we have covered threading, we've covered screenshots, mentions, and reactions. There are a few other tools that can be a little helpful.
Saving.
Oh, yes.
Saving.
Saving is one last good one. Not only can you follow a thread, you can save a thread. Again, just where you can emoji, view thread, reply in thread, you can click this little button, save, and it'll go into your saved items. So if, for example, a captain or an assigner gave a really good answer to a volunteer and you think, oh, I might use that again in the future, you can save it. That's very helpful. That said, saved items only save for as long as they live in Slack, which is only 10,000 messages, which you may have seen goes very, very fast. So if you want to save something permanently, recommend copying and pasting it and creating a direct message. We'll click that. And creating a direct message to yourself where you can share that, or you can save that information permanently. Direct messages to yourself don't disappear.
May I just add that particularly for assigners, when you get folks who are struggling, who reply to your original link post, saving is a way to get back to them when it's very hard to follow that thread. So it's a great tool for work that you need to be able to get back to during shift, but not across shifts.
Yes, absolutely. So last but not, or two more things. One thing that can be helpful is trying to organize your channels in a way that allows you to focus on what you need to focus on during shift. There might be a lot going on in the back end, but if you're captaining, or conversely, a lot going on in text team, but you're doing assigning, you don't want to pay attention to those channels. So starring and muting channels are great tools for you. Personally, I assign a lot, so text get text is a channel that I pay a lot of attention to. So I scroll over here, click that little star, and now that channel's up in my starred section, as is mods backend. Now I can ignore all those other channels, and whatever's going on in them, boop, doesn't matter to me. The other thing you can do is just mute a channel if there's a lot of alerts or stuff going on. For example, text get text, I may be running the channel, but it doesn't mean I need to pay attention to what's happening, or to I don't need to get alerted every time there's a text in it. I will even mute channels that I am actively working in, but today I'm gonna mute mods front end. I don't need to pay attention to that right now, I'm busy. So I'm gonna right click on the channel, and I'm going to mute the channel. Okay, now it's going to be silent for me. Same thing with text team. I'm going to mute that, and those aren't going to, they're just not going to come into my consciousness while I'm focused on something else. And then the last thing we should cover today is direct messages. So you can send a direct message to one person in the channel independently. We do want to warn that direct messages really should be used sparingly. We encourage volunteers not to direct message to mods unless they're doing so for a specific, very private piece of information or hostile content that would just make people uncomfortable to see in the channel. And the same is true for how mods should interact with each other and with staff. You don't always know that a staff member or another mod is available to answer your question. But if you post in the backend channel or the front end mods channel, you will reach the staff member or the other mods who are on shift right now and who are paying attention, and are more likely to get a faster response to your query or comment than you would otherwise. Additionally, it offers transparency and lets everybody know what's happening, because as things move, if we're having conversations in direct messages, we're just not doing the work to make sure that everybody's on the same page and prepared to give the same level of support to volunteers across the program. Elizabeth, I saw you make a face. Did I miss something?
No, I didn't make a face.
I'm sorry. I saw this. I thought I had not covered something.
No, it's perfect.
All right. Well, I think that's it for today. We hope this is helpful. You can always post in one of the mods channels asking Elizabeth or I for help. You can @ us to get our attention, and we are here to help you. Have a good day.